Abigail Cutshaw is a victim of domestic violence who escaped her situation and has now written a book about her experience. She has an advice column in Cleveland and is working to educate young women about the signs of domestic violence. Here, she tells the task force how it feels to be trapped in a cycle of abuse.
I truly was at the bottom of a deep, dark hole. When you're at the bottom of a deep, dark hole long enough, you truly forget how bright the world is above. Your family and your loved ones tried many times to pull you out, but you weren't ready, and so you resisted. And then once you are ready, you're trapped. You blame yourself. You feel like your abuser is right. You really are a stupid piece of dirt. You wonder if there will ever be a right time to leave for good. And then you realize there is never a right time.
I'm in the TV18 studio with Jessica Butler. She's the Executive Director for the Gateway Center for Domestic Violence. Welcome to the show, Jessica.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we just heard from Abigail Cutshaw, and she was talking about how charming her abuser was and how he told her over and over again that he was going to change. I imagine that it is really easy for women to get caught in this cycle of abuse. What are some of the warning signs that women can look for so that they can see this before they get too deep?
Well, unfortunately, there's no one way to predict domestic violence, but there are some warning signs that people can look out for. First of all, controlling behaviors or attempts to isolate the victim from her friends and family.
Like
those
what?
should be concerning. For example, in a new relationship, if the partner is saying, let's not spend time with your family, or trying to keep the victim or the new partner from being with her family and friends, he's therefore making himself the center of her life and isolating her from other ways she can interact with friends and family.
He's cutting her off from her support system. Really.
Correct.
Okay.
And later down the road, should the relationship become violent, that makes it really hard for a victim to leave. Other things that victims might look out for, or that, young women might look out for to avoid becoming...
Before they become victims.
So that they can try to avoid becoming victims of domestic violence, are the new boyfriend's reputation for being in abusive relationships. That's not to say that you should go around believing all the rumors you hear, but if someone has a reputation for being violent or having bad relationships, that's something that young women should listen to. Also, attempts to try to control what the young lady wears or where they go, a belief that he is in control of the relationship.
So really him kind of micromanaging her life.
Absolutely. Because we believe domestic violence and intimate partner abuse is about one person trying to have power and control over the other.
Okay. So once a woman is in this relationship, she realizes what has happened, how do you get out?
Okay. Well, the first thing that people need to know is that the time when a woman in an abusive relationship makes an attempt to leave is the most dangerous. Coming from Gateway Domestic Violence Center, I would urge anyone to call Gateway or call their local domestic violence center for help in planning how they end that relationship.
So they can call you even before
Absolutely.
they've escaped. Okay.
Many women come to us for support as they're deciding if they want to end the relationship and what they'll do next, making plans for housing, jobs, childcare, all that stuff.
Oh, that's terrific.
Mm-hmm.
So what else do you guys do? What is Gateway Domestic Violence Center all about?
Well, we're best known as a 24-hour emergency shelter and crisis hotline. But in addition to that, the majority of the people we serve each year actually come to us for our support groups and classes and legal advocacy in the courthouse. We assist victims through the temporary protective order process and have programs for children and prevention programs.
So you see it all the way through before the woman leaves the abuser, all the way to the end of the court.
In some cases we do. And different people need different things. So while one person might need emergency shelter, another family may have a safe place to go and just come to us for support groups. One victim may want to get a restraining order or a temporary protective order, while another says that she doesn't think that that would be the right thing for her situation.
What exactly is a temporary protective order do? I talked about that earlier with Sergeant Watterson a little bit, but could you elaborate on that?
Temporary protective orders are issued by Superior Court judges to keep victims safe. Victims can go to a judge with a gateway advocate and ask to have no contact with the abuser. Those orders ultimately can help work out child custody and other types of situations, but they're designed for the safety of the victims.
So how many women and children can the shelter accommodate at one time?
Our emergency shelter can accommodate about 18 women and children at any given time. And we also have 3 transitional apartments on site, and we're located in a secret location within the city of Gainesville for the safety of the families living with us. On average, people stay about 45 days, and that number's up over the last few years since the economic downturn. It's taking people longer to find housing and other resources.
Has the number of women coming to your shelter or experiencing domestic violence, period, has that increased over the last few years for those same reasons?
We're seeing about the same numbers of clients, but what we're seeing is a greater need and a greater a length of stay in the shelter. Before the recession or the downturn in the economy, people were staying an average of about 30 days. And some people would just stay a night or two until they could get to a safe place or get their own housing lined up, while other people, may stay 2 or 3 months. It just depends on the family and what their needs are.
Okay. How is Gateway House funded?
We get funding from state and federal grants. We get United Way funding from the United Way of Hall County, and local donations. We do fundraising here in the community. Also, we have 2 thrift stores here in Hall County, and those stores generate income for the shelter.
Oh, where are the thrift stores at?
There's one on Dawsonville Highway by Play It Again Sports, and another on Park Hill Drive. And those are open Monday through Saturday, and all the inventory is donated from the community.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good way for people from the community to contribute to Gateway
Absolutely.
House, because we obviously all can't go out there and be counselors and
Exactly.
do the extremely highly trained jobs that you guys do.
Right.
So what are some other resources in the community that people have other than Gateway Center?
Well, Gateway's the primary agency for victims of domestic violence, but we work very closely through the Domestic Violence Task Force with law enforcement, prosecutors, legal aid, other programs in the community that provide other services that ultimately help victims of abuse.
So what can we do, and what does Gateway House do to prevent domestic violence?
Well, we think that education is the most important thing that we can do as a community and as an agency to prevent domestic violence. So we encourage people and parents, especially with middle and high school age children or even elementary age children, to learn about the issue and talk to their children about it. It's never too early to start having conversations about healthy relationships. And we have plenty of resources if anyone ever wants to call us for booklets on starting those conversations with their children.
I thought that was interesting in Abigail's story earlier, that even as a teenager, this is when her relationship started and became abusive. You always think of this as something that adults deal with, but you're so incapable as a teenager to deal with that sort of issue.
Exactly, and more on the news we're seeing, every week a story about a really serious dating violence situation. There have been several even homicides over the last few years that have made national news. So it's really important for parents to talk to their teenagers and their children about this issue. Gateway goes into the local schools, and we teach elementary age students about what to do if there's violence in their homes, meaning between their mom and her partner. And then we also talk to middle school kids about red flags for unhealthy relationships. So we're trying to teach kids, how to look out for warning signs for potentially abusive relationships.
So if parents want to get some of this information, where should they go?
They can visit our website, gatewaydvcenter.org, or call us at 770-536-5860.
Terrific. Well, thank you for all this information, Jessica.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for all you do in our community.
Thank you. Okay.
Domestic violence is something that happens every day all around us, but it's not something people discuss openly, so it was an eye-opener for me to hear just how prevalent the problem is. But it's good to know that in Hall County we have a group of people who devote their lives to overcoming domestic violence. Earlier in the show, we took a tour of the county's future home where all administrative services will be consolidated into one building to serve you better. I hope you enjoyed our sneak peek inside the Liberty Mutual building, and we hope you'll come visit us there in November 2011. Thank you for watching. For Hall County Connection and TV 18, I'm Nikki Young.
You're watching TV 18, the government channel for Gainesville and Hall County.